Hello everyone, my name is Colin and you are watching ClassyHerps. Okay, so today I'm going to try to do a little bit different topic, kind of a throwback as to my older videos from ClassyHerps that you guys might remember, kind of my long-term subscribers. So I'm going to go over the animals that you saw in those that I still have today, at least what I have here to show you. And so one that you guys might remember, this is Blaze. This is my bearded dragon. I have had him for several years now. He's my buddy. He's a pretty big celebrity here over at the store because he's kind of goofy right now, but he's usually extremely calm, and he is my go-to animal for whenever anybody wants to hold something, wants to interact with a reptile. I pull this guy out here, and he is just a professional at letting people hold him and stuff. So I take him out to educational events, from going into like lecture halls at the local university to birthday parties, just kids events, all across from everything. So he's super good with that, and bearded dragons are good for that in general, but he's been handled by like literally thousands and thousands of kids and adults for that matter, and most of them have never held a reptile. So this guy right here is very well known around in the area. Anybody that comes to the store and has a bearded dragon probably knows Blaze. He's also been one of our main breeders here over at the store for quite some time now, and so because of that he has a lot of children. So it's something to be pretty proud of, and for his age he's still being super healthy. You can see he's fat and still pretty active. So that's Blaze.
Do you know how old he is?
Honestly, I'd have to like look back through my videos. I should have done that before I started here, but probably find out.
How long do they live?
I mean, the general lifespan for these guys is kind of considered to be about 10 years or so, but honestly, I feel like that's like a genuine understatement, and goes to show how little we kind of really know about taking care of reptiles at this point, because it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest bit if these lived to be over 20 years old, but we just don't know how to fully take care of them in captivity to give them all of the requirements that they really need. So I think that as we learn how to take care of them better, that their life expectancy is going to creep up and up and up and up. And so I take really good care of him. I take a lot of pride in that, at least I try to think I do. And obviously he lives in a reptile store, so he's pretty spoiled. So I think he's probably going to live to be quite over the average dragon life expectancy. But he's an old dude, he's still healthy, so I think he's going to kind of go to improve those standards. So up next, these guys right here, kind of probably two of my most special personal pets that I own, just because I think they are the oldest reptiles that I have, or at least the longest ones that I have had. These weren't actually my very first ones, or I guess at first I got the dart frog, so they're not really reptiles, but these were the first reptiles I ever got. And so they're pretty special to me in the way that I've had them since I was a kid, and they're still super healthy. And I also use them a lot for demonstrations like I was just talking about with my bearded dragon. Because these guys have been handled so much, they're usually extremely calm. This over here is Elvis, and this is Flo. I know they're at least over 10 years old, so they're definitely getting up there in age. And as you can see, Flo right here has regrown her tail, and that was because for the longest time I had these two living together in a 20-gallon tank for several years, up until just like about probably like 5 months ago or so. And I came in one morning and she had dropped her tail and had quite a few like open wounds across her body, and I'm not sure if there was a fight between the two or if he was trying to breed and she didn't want anything to do with it, but they've been living together for years and years without any conflict, and then one day she had just not had it anymore, and so she dropped her tail, which is pretty sad for me, but I took her out and set her up in her own little enclosure, so now they're separated, but I still take care of her the same, and she obviously is very healthy. You see that regenerated tail is pretty dang fat, so I think it's kind of funny how she got a stripe on it, because her other tail, she was just perfectly this color. But they're still doing good, still real healthy. But my little leopard geckos, never get rid of them. So I've got a couple ball pythons here that I wanted to share with you that you guys might recognize. Unfortunately, they're both in sheds. I don't know what the odds on that were, but this was my piebald male that I had. I've had him for at least 5 years now. He's a really good breeder of mine. I've been using him every single year. He's super big now. He probably weighs over 1,500 grams. So for a male, he's definitely a chunky boy. But super healthy. He is also one of the go-to animals that I have here at the store. So if anybody is ever wanting to hold a snake and they're a little bit uncomfortable with it, I always grab this guy just because he has been held so many times that he's not even head shy anymore. So just a super awesome ball python. One of the few ball pythons that I keep here at the store that I would kind of consider to be a pet of mine, just because I've had him for so long, and it is a piebald. One of the first like real kind of high-end morphs that I ever bought when I was kind of getting started into things. So he'll always be special to me. I really doubt that I ever sell or trade him. I'll probably keep him in my collection until he dies, which could be a long time. And then this one that I have around my neck up here is one that you might not have seen in my videos or might have seen briefly, but this was actually a baby that I produced when I was in high school. Obviously it's not a baby anymore. I'm probably going to breed her for the first time this coming up season. It's a bumblebee that I produced. She's about 2 years old now. She's a pretty bad eater, unfortunately, but I kept her just because she was one of the more unique, or like just one of the very first kind of combo morphs that I ever made, and it was just kind of a milestone to me to actually hatch out a bumblebee. So that was kind of exciting to me. So it's kind of more of a symbolic thing to me. It's not really worth that much. It's just a bumblebee. But she's up to size this year, so it's kind of a cool thing to me that my babies that I produced are going to be having babies this season. So kind of another milestone, I suppose, in the breeder world. Pretty special snake, I think. Okay, so I'm just going to show you one more ball python because I know ball pythons aren't really that interesting, but it was the majority of my collection at the time, so I just show you. This was the very first morph that I ever bought outside of my normals, which I still have them, but they're at my house. They're not actually at the facility here, so I can't show them. But I do still have Alan and Darla, my very two first ball pythons. But this was the very first morph that I ever produced, or purchased, sorry. This is a pinstripe, so got her several years ago, and she has been the most reliable breeder that I have ever had. Still to this day, she produces a clutch every single year, and 2 out of the 3 years that she's been here producing, she has laid the biggest clutch of the facility. So I think she laid 13 eggs one year. So she lays some pretty big clutches. It was a pretty exciting year this year because we actually bred the scaleless head to her because she's so big, just to maximize the amount of eggs that we're going to get out of our male sperm. And I think she laid 11 eggs this year, so it was a little bit on a smaller clutch, but still a pretty good sized one. And so we got a bunch of scaleless heads and scaleless head pinstripes out of that, which are very cool. But yeah, my very first morph ball python. Okay, so one last thing here. This animal you probably recognize. This is Lola. She is my Sunglow boa, red-tailed boa, and as you can see, she's acting pretty weird. She's not holding her body correctly, doesn't really seem to have full orientation or equilibrium in her head. She kind of acts like a spider ball python does. And I'm going to explain that and kind of a quick story with everything. Last year we had some people break into our store here, and they opened up a bunch of the cages, specifically the big animal cages, including my boa here. I had her paired up with another male Sunglow boa, and they let all of those out, including our Burmese, our retics, the anaconda. All of the big animals were just let free into the store by these people that broke in overnight. And fortunately, when I opened the store the next morning, I was able to find most of them right away. They were all still in the room, and I didn't make it very far. They knocked over a bunch of stuff and broke things. but I was able to find them pretty easily. And the retics, you know, the berm are 10 plus feet, very large snakes. So it's not too difficult to find them, but I did. The only ones that I didn't find were the red-tailed boas. And honestly, time went on and on and on, and I've never really lost an animal before. In the reptile world, you kind of realize that a snake is going to be found when it wants to be found, that there's really not a whole lot of use in actively looking for it because it could literally be anywhere, and it is most likely in a place that you're not even going to be able to look. So it's really not worth tearing the place up to try to find them. They come out when they're ready. But time went on and on and on, months went by, and I hadn't seen anything of her, not a hoot, not a shed, nothing, or the male. And then after about 8 months or so, there was a really bad smell in the store, like death, and we all kind of assumed that they had died in the store somehow, like in the walls or something. And I'm pretty sure that was the male. He was definitely smaller than her. See, she's probably about 6-7 feet, pretty thick too. He was about half her size, and so he probably didn't fare too well in the coolness of the building, and but she did. And one morning, about a little over a year after her escape date, I'm not kidding you, a year went by, I had forgotten about her. I had written her off as either dead or had gotten out of the building, and was most likely dead in that case also. But I came in and opened the store one morning, and there she was, curled up on top of the alligator cage. I could not believe my eyes when I saw it. It was just kind of one of those unbelievable moments. But I found her, and she was healthy for the most part, healthy looking, until I kind of picked her up. And I think what happened was, when she was out in the store, I think she was probably in the cement walls, and I think that she got too cold for too long and probably had some brain damage. So parts of her brain probably started to die just because of the lack of heat, like really long term. And so now I think she kind of has some loss of motor control. So like I said earlier, she kind of moves like a spider ball python would, just really kind of random and sporadic and jumpy. And she flips around and kind of ties herself into knots here. But she's not aggressive. She does still eat. Other than being a little bit weird, she's still healthy. But I'm just glad that I found her, because I had forgotten about her, to be completely honest with you. But pretty cool animal. Do you have any questions, Kurt?
No.
She's a survivor. That's Lola. So one of the really big projects that my channel kind of got famous for and really well known for across the internet would have been the dubia roaches. Because that's kind of one of the first care videos in how to breed your own and do this at your home for your own pets. And because they have caught on with popularity so much in the last few years, dubia roaches are in demand like gold. Everybody wants them. There's not nearly enough to go around. So that whole colony that I had at my house, I moved over here to Manhattan Reptile World and kind of joined it with their colony, and we kind of just created a massive super colony. So what we did essentially was we took this rack. It's an ARS rack that's made for large snakes like red-tailed boas, Burmese, retics, that sort of thing. So it's really big, lots of area space in here. It's basically just like the exact same thing as any other kind of rack system in a snake tub, but just really big tubs. And there's a heat panel that runs all the way down the center of it. You can kind of see it right there. And so that keeps them warm. And this plastic is slick, so they can't climb it. So they have to stay in there, and there's a nice lid in there, and it slides in place perfectly. So basically how we do it now is the most efficient way I have ever been able to find to breed dubia roaches, and just like literally stacking them in tubs like snakes. And so essentially each colony looks like this, obviously give or take some, but you know, dubia roaches hide obviously, so there's not going to be a whole lot on the top. But it's a pretty dirty colony right now, but and it's kind of sparsely populated because, like I said, we sell so many of them through the store. I literally cannot keep up with production back here. So as pretty much as fast as they're being produced, they are being sold or eaten by the animals in the store. Let's see. I actually have found they tend to do a little bit better if you don't clean it too regularly. If you kind of let everything build up and just let them kind of make it into what they want it to be, they tend to do really well. So I clean it when everything really starts to deteriorate, but this isn't necessary yet. They are roaches. So I think that's one kind of funny thing. People always ask me about how clean do I need to keep this? Do I need to be cleaning it every day? And I always have to remind people they're roaches. You know, they live in trash. Literally, that's what they evolved to do. So they definitely don't require any kind of a sanitary environment. But you don't want to let it get too bad to where mold and fungus are overtaking your colony. So that's pretty cool. You see in here also that there's a whole bunch of other little beetles. You can see that little guy right there. I didn't really do this nearly as much. I had a few of them at my old colony, but I definitely took this to the next level here. Those are dermastic beetles, and these are basically just little cleaners that go around and eat everything that dies, any poop. They won't touch anything that's alive, but anytime a dubia roach ever dies, those guys swarm on it, they eat it, and that keeps the mold and fungus down dramatically and the bacteria growth. So I really don't have much of a problem with that, so that's why I can get away with cleaning these like once a year. Those cleaner beetles save you a ton. And they kind of just live in symbiotic relationship. They're feeding off each other and keep each other clean. So definitely a new suggestion I have for you guys when it comes to breeding dubia roaches: introduce a cleaner's beetle in there with them. Do you have any questions, Kurt?
How many roaches do you think you have back here?
How many roaches?
Yeah, if you had to guess.
I'd say as far as adults go, we probably have about 10,000 adults throughout here. Babies, I can guess, but this one is pretty sparsely populated, as you saw, but the other ones are definitely pretty thick with the roaches. Pull that out, it's right there. But yeah, each of these are pretty much made up of super colonies like that. Each one we pretty much dumped in like what my colony at home was equivalent to when we got rid of that kind of old school box system. We just set up each one of these. They say we go through about 30 pounds of carrots every week. If that gives you any kind of a rough idea as to how much food these guys are consuming. And if any of you have roaches and do it at your home, you know that it can take a small colony like a week to eat a carrot, and and we go through like 30 pounds a week. So just a rough idea there. So one major aspect that you guys know goes hand in hand with reptiles is the rodents. And so in here is basically an expanded version of what I showed you guys back home when I had my rat breeding shed. This is basically a rat breeding room. And so, Kurt, how many rats do you think are in this room right now? As far as adults go?
I think there's 135 tubs, and each one has 3 to 4 adults in it.
Yeah.
So close to 500.
Lots and lots of rat production back here. Way more than I could have ever done at my house by myself. And so just a quick example, and obviously we use these nice kind of professional racks, and we're working towards transitioning all of our rodents into these nice professional metal Freedom Breeder racks actually. So this is just kind of an example of a typical colony that we have here. We have a male and we've got the 3 females in there together, and they've got their babies. Looks like she's pregnant. Typically they will get pregnant while they're nursing or on their babies with them still. So that it's just kind of a continuous cycle of having babies, getting pregnant, having babies, getting pregnant. So kind of the life that they live. And Kurt back here, the guy who is behind the camera, pretty much does the majority of the work back here and does a really good job at doing it now. It's a lot of rodents to keep managed. Just kind of saw that side right there, how many tubs there are, but there's a whole nother aisle over here. It goes clear back all the way over here. So obviously we've got a lot of rodents that takes a lot of time and a lot of concentration to get this well-oiled and producing like it should be. So yeah, definitely haven't stopped with the rodents expanded, but Kurt kind of does that now, so that's why you don't see nearly as much of it in my videos. But I just wanted to share with you guys. There's still lots of rats and mice going on here. So, but thank you for watching. This has been ClassyHerps.